have been the best government we had. Did they take I mean, because he's saying they didn't take advantage of how divided we were, but then we made a resolve. Whatever happened to that resolve that we made?
Well, I want to disagree with that position of Chief Emmanuel Nwayawu. I don't think the peoples of Nigeria who made up Nigeria of today, or as of then, went into a voluntary and mutual agreement to be in that federation. Nigeria itself is a creation of, if you remember, British colonialism.
Of course.
It was just the battle for territories between the European powers. Ordinarily, Southern Cameroon was part of what used to be regarded as Nigeria today. And it was when it was ceded to French imperialism that, you know, we were back to where we are. So Nigeria itself is not a creation, it's not a voluntary creation of all the nationalities that are now locked up in the prison house of British and lately American imperialism that we now call Nigeria and all of that. So at no time have we entered into that mutual and dispassionate discussion.
But we have agreed to stay together. We have been here for 100 years. We celebrated centenary some time ago.
We were lumped up together.
Yes, but
at no time have we discussed that.
If we did not want to stay together, we would have left long time ago. There have been several countries who have divided themselves
disagree
up.
with the premises of Chief Emmanuel Nwayawu. The assertion that the 1960s were the best phase of times in Nigeria is another fallacy, if I may add. Ahmadu Bello and the Sadana Tafawa Balewa, Sadana Ahmadu Bello, and then Tafawa Balewa, who was the prime minister. You must consider the fact that as limited, within the limitations we have scientifically observed about that era, there were people who want to put Nigeria, even on the basis of independence, on the pedestal of all the other advanced countries. That's why, as of 1959, when some European countries have not even had television, pioneer television in West Africa. As early as 1959, free education in vast rural and agrarian parts of Nigeria were being opened up.
So you somewhat seem to me, I'm sorry, but you seem like you're speaking from both sides of your mouth. As much as you disagree, I know. But if we had these kind of things being prioritized over tribalism and religion and
tribalism was still going on.
Yes,
if you remember.
But the good
I'm just trying to be scientific and be balanced.
Okay.
You know, in this, I'm not being contradictory at all. I'm trying to say that despite that climate of tribalism, there's a climate of regionalism and, if you ask me, clannish interest. If you remember, it was the alliance of the UNDP, I mean, that's the UDP, that's the party of Dr. Adadoke Akintola that merged with the Northern People's Congress that merged into that Grand Alliance. That in a way there was that attempt to capture power by ethnic and tribal means. The 1965 general elections ended in a bloody skirmish, and the outcome was the January 15, 1966 coup. Then 3 months later there was the pogroms in the north, and then down the line the civil war broke out, and then 3 years of carnage.
Let's take it that at the time we were still trying to understand, you know, the workings of becoming a country, since, you know, like most people say, and you have also alluded to the fact that we were all just lumped together. So we're still trying to understand how to live together and cohabit and enjoy, you know, nationalism as it was at the time. But this is 60 years down the line. And out of that 60 years, we have had democracy back to back. And we still, instead of growing and becoming better, we are almost back, because what you're describing is almost the same thing that happened in 1960. So can we really say that we're a progressive society, or maybe we're retrogressing?
Really, we need to be clear about how human societies develop. Human societies don't develop on the basis of merger of boundaries or territories. Human society develop on the basis of how they manage their resources and what is available at every point in history.
But that also falls at the feet of government.
I'm going somewhere. In the sense that at the period when the independence movement broke out in Nigeria, it was a period when, as at that time, there was more or less the reality, in fact, fundamentally, the reality that the country, not only the country, and even at that time, the global economy was stratified into two. There was the school of thought that believed that we can plan society, we can put resources, we can even centrally share the resources of society. Though it was a battered example of that, whatever. And that was also happening in the Soviet Union, which was more or less if you ask me, a pseudo-socialist attempt of trying to reform society on the basis of sharing resources collectively. The other side of the divide was, at that time, the booming British imperialism, which was also like a signpost of countries who want to enter into liberal economy and things like that. And if you remember, that was just shortly after the Second World War. So it was a period when humanity was debating how societies can be managed. Is it on the basis of free trade or on the basis of central planning? So it was on that pedestal that Nigeria, I mean, a fictitious, that's the way
it's your opinion.
A fictitious creation of Euro-American imperialism, as we have it, came into being as an independent something. So the nationalists at that time wanted to also develop Nigeria, either consciously or unconsciously, into, if at all, a form of economy that plans society. And that is why we have a lot of investment, state investment in education, in healthcare and all that. But just 30 years after that, the parallel economic example, which was a first one, the one happening, we have the Cold War era that ended in 1989. So the world flattened, so to speak, and everybody was like, this is what we call the neoliberal stage of a global economy, in which people want everything now is for sale. In fact, a liver is for sale, blood is for sale, and even not to talk of education and healthcare. In places like US, there was a recent news of a mother that sold his baby, for an advanced capitalist economy. That should be something that is far, it's not on the news. But we will hear about that in our own side of the world here, where we have, if you read page 3 of Punch, you see how a mother sold his child for 300,000. It's happening in advanced capitalist countries. So we have entered global economy, and humanity, ultimately, has entered into the twilight period of the neoliberal disorder. So where do we go from here? How can we resolve this very complicated?
Have people who literally have all the resources in their hands.